Hi, everyone. Welcome today. Thank you so much for being here. This is the Unique Job Search Strategies for International Students workshop. My name is Megan Spalding, and I'm a career advisor in the Albers School. I work in a place called the Albers Placement Center. We are the career center for the business school. So all of you who are grad and undergrad business program students, we are here to help support you in your career planning. And I've got a few of my teammates here, Abby, Justin, Mary Lou. I'll have our office information up at the end of this so you can get our contact info. We're going to go through some resources today and guidelines and tips and suggestions and stories and experiences for you. But we are also here to help you on a personalized individual basis with your own job search when you need it. So, but we're so excited to have you here today. We hope this is helpful. We've just been noticing, I've been doing a lot of appointments with students who are starting to think about what they're going to do on OPT. And so we thought, I bet there's a lot of students wondering about this kind of stuff. And we thought it might be helpful to cover it in a wider audience. And then the unique treat today is that we've got Dale from International Student Center to give us some helpful insight. And we also have two alumni who are international students and got some experiences on OPT. So you can actually hear from people who've gone before and what worked for them. Because I know, hearing anecdotes and experiences is really helpful. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to hand it over to Dale because he's actually got to head out to something else. And Dale is going to give us, Dale Watanabe is the Executive Director of International Student Center. He's going to give us an overview from the International Student Center perspective. What are the things you need to be aware of with OPT and work authorization and what they're seeing recently or lately going on with OPT that might be helpful for you to know. So Dale, if you want to take it away.
All right, thank you, Megan, and thank you for putting this together and for inviting me and the International Student Center to be a part of it. Again, my name is Dale Watanabe. I am the director. I'm not an executive director, but thank you for the promotion, I guess. So I just want to say a couple of quick things about OPT. We do, through the center, do a monthly OPT workshop. And it is a requirement that we do have international students attend the workshop before they are able to meet with their primary immigration advisor to submit the application. And one of the things, one of the key takeaways that I'd like all of you to take from this whole process of applying for OPT is just remember to apply early because we are seeing significant delays through USCIS, which is the agency that adjudicates OPTs. And there's been delays with the lockbox or the mail center that they use. So they recently changed it. It's no longer at the same location it has been for the past several years. So we may see, hopefully, faster turnaround, but for at least the next month or so, there are significant delays. So with that, of course, the earliest you can apply is 90 days before your program end date if you are applying for post-completion OPT, which is basically the start of the quarter. If you are applying for pre-completion OPT, you can apply up to 120 days before. Some of you may have also heard about some of the challenges that have come against, I guess, OPT by various organizations, groups. The good news about that is I think with the administration change that there has been it's been a lot quieter. And we believe that the threat to OPT does not exist as it once did. So we're very thankful that I think things have kind of settled down. The one upcoming thing that does appear to be unavoidable is that there will be a fee increase to the price of the application. Currently, it's $410, but it is expected to rise to $550. And that is pending right now in the courts. So it could happen at any time. It's sort of been put on hold because there was a challenge against the fee increase. But once a decision is made, that could basically happen overnight. So the best advice is to always check the USCIS website. And again, a lot of this or all of this is actually covered in our OPT workshops. As far as what we hear from students, you know, it's tough out there in this time of pandemic. So I do appreciate, the Placement Center providing a space to discuss it and to give you some helpful tips while you are job searching. With that, the pandemic has allowed SCVP to finally kind of loosen some things. So remote work does qualify under OPT. So that is something that could disappear if things get back to some sense of normal. But for now, remote work does qualify. So but there is unfortunately still the 90 days of unemployment rule, and that has never gone away, even with the pandemic. So if you do not report something within 90 days of the start date of your OPT, that does invalidate the OPT. So I probably said more than you need to know right now. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there, but do let you know that on our Connect SU site is where you can RSVP for the OPT workshop. The next one will be a week from today, Thursday, February 11th at the same time, 12:30. And I just want to put another plug that we will also be hosting an immigration lawyer who will come to talk about the H-1B process, and that will be on February 25th, which is also Thursday, with details to follow. So thank you, Megan. I'll end there.
Thanks, Dale. So all of you, your Thursdays are booked up for this month. Does anybody have any really quick questions for Dale? You're welcome to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. I meant to say that along the lines as we go through this. If you have questions that come up, you can throw it in the chat, and then we will have a Q&A time towards the end if you have questions for alumni or for our team. But any questions for Dale? It's just really good idea, I think, to stay close to your International Student Center advisor, just to make sure, you're crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, and, you're way ahead of the game and getting everything ready. I mean, is it safe to say, Dale, they should really be attending the OPT workshop this quarter and starting to get everything together so they can apply right away when next quarter starts?
Right. Thank you. That's really good advice. And as I mentioned, I think it's always just think apply early is the best piece of advice. And especially if you want to avoid the potential fee increase, it's like, well, apply now, because we know today it's $410.
Any questions?
I do have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's Sophia.
Yeah, so,
Hi, Sophia.
Sorry.
I said, hi, Sophia. Go ahead.
So I have a question for Dale. So you said that remote work counts. For example, if my completion date is going to be in spring 2021, and I apply for OPT early, and for example, everything works perfect and I find a job and I get my card, but I would like to go back to my country, and I will have a chance to work remotely. Will it still allow me to go back to America, or there are going to be some type of documentation problems?
So right now, if you were to do it, it would allow you to come back. But of course, if the government or DHS determines that the pandemic is over, then they could revoke that privilege. So it really will depend. Because you're graduating in the spring, I mean, we don't even know exactly where we'll be in terms of where the pandemic is in the spring. But if you were doing it right now, today, this quarter, it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
But my guess is that it will be extended through at least September.
Mhm. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dale, so much. We're so grateful for you being here. Whenever you need to hop off, that's great. Okay, so I think I'm going to share my screen. I have a little PowerPoint put together and some resources to show you all that I just want to go through that a little bit. And then we'll get to our alumni, which I know is the best part. So let me pull up. So I've got a few slides here. So we've kind of adopted a few resources that have specific elements for international students that you may or may not be aware of, because we've just kind of added these resources in the last year or so. So I want to point those out to you, and then talk about a couple other job search strategies that I know I definitely talk a lot with international students about. And then I think my team does as well. And just to do a caveat too, what we're talking about today is a lot more focused around OPT job searching, not necessarily really around CPT or internships, just to give that caveat. So, but probably a lot of these resources I'm going to mention, especially these websites here on this page, CareerShift for sure, and Handshake, are places you could also look for internships if you're able to do CPT, which is another work authorization. We're not going to go into CPT today, but if you have questions about it, I liaise on that process. So you're welcome to make an appointment with me and I can help you with CPT. But today we're focusing more on, how do you what are some unique things you can do outside of the box for your OPT job searching. So I'm going to show you our website. We have a specific page for international students, a couple of things, like a thing in Handshake you can do, and then a couple of resources you can access from our website that have some helpful things for international students. So let me pull these up so I can show you visually. Everybody see this okay? Team, does it look okay? You can see my screen. Okay. So this is our Albers Placement Center website. You can get to there probably just searching Albers Placement Center on the Seattle U search bar. If you scroll down, we have a lot of resources on our website in general. There's our whole students page. All of our upcoming events are listed here. We have a lot of COVID specific resources here at the top. But if you keep scrolling down, we have a whole tab for international student resources. And when you get into here, this first thing here is we link to International Student Center's website to cover all the work authorization overview. So if this is pretty brand new to you, like if you've just started studying in the United States, or just, all of this stuff's been overwhelming and you're not sure about it, and what are the work authorization options and all of that, being on F1, I highly recommend going to here to kind of get that overview. And, we help with the CPT process, but it's really good to go here to International Student Center to make sure you understand what you're able to do work-wise on an F1 visa. So I really recommend that you check that out. And then down here, we have two specific kind of job search resources that have elements that are helpful, that are either designated towards international students or that have elements that are helpful for international students. So I'm going to show you those here, but if you go to our website, this is how you'll get to these resources that I'm going to show you. One of them is Handshake. Obviously, probably most of you know of Handshake. Handshake is Seattle University's job and internship database. We've purchased an account with them, and employers who can go into Handshake and post jobs and internships. We also have on-campus positions on here, which is also another great work opportunity for international students, because if you work on campus, you don't have to get any special kind of work authorization. Also, working on campus can help you get your social security number and card, which is helpful if you want to do off-campus work later on, either on OPT or CPT. Because that process takes a while. So it's nice to get that taken care of for an on-campus position. So you can look for those in here. But just one small thing I wanted to show you, you may have seen this already, but when you're in here searching for internships or full-time jobs, you can click on all filters and scroll down, and there's a work authorization section. And so you can click accepts OPT and CPT, and that will help you to see the employers that are open to those work authorization temporary visas. And so that might help you filter your search a little bit more and be able to see who's open to your unique situation. So that's just a small little thing that I'm not sure every student's always aware of. So I'd encourage you to click on that. One of the newer resources that we purchased, I think within the last year or two, is called Career Shift. All students at SU can access Career Shift. If you click on this button here, it'll bring you to the website and you just log in with your SU credentials. It's a job search website, so similar to Handshake kind of, or Indeed.com or LinkedIn. But the nice thing about it is it has a lot more unique features to it where you can find contacts sometimes for some of the postings. You can kind of like create your own kind of portfolio here. It has a much more easier way to manage your job searching and keep track of things. So there's some really nice unique elements to it that you don't have in some of the other job search sites. But in particular for international students, when you go to the job search page, click on this advanced search, turn that on. And if you scroll down, you can check to filter H-1B visa sponsorships so that you can particularly be looking at organizations who are open to sponsorship and H-1B visas. The reason, even if you're not wanting to get sponsored, it might be helpful to filter for that so that, because then you're looking at organizations that are open to different visas, different work authorization structures, and not only open to US citizens. So that's just a way for you to kind of see who's out there that might be more open to sponsorship eventually, and then definitely OPT before the sponsorship. So that's kind of a nice feature. So I encourage you to kind of dig and play around in here, kind of a new dashboard for us. Another resource that we added, again, pretty recently, is called Lock-in China. And this is a platform with employment opportunities, career development for international students who are seeking opportunities in China and East Asia. So this doesn't really have anything to do with OPT, but if you are deciding that you don't want to stay and do OPT and you're looking for opportunities and you have authorization to work in China or in East Asia, you might want to check out this website or this resource. You click into here. Again, it's with your SU credentials. We have our own Seattle University account with them. And you can kind of navigate this site. I'm not able to show you particular things on here because I can't speak Mandarin. But if you can and you want to explore this helpful resource for you, I encourage you to take a look at it. Okay, so that's kind of some SU specific resources that we, programs that we've purchased recently to give you all some unique ways of searching that are maybe outside the box than normally what you might be doing. And then when I'm meeting with international students, there's two other resources or strategies I kind of recommend just to kind of, I think it's helpful when you're looking for OPT opportunities to be open to a lot of different possibilities, but also being thoughtful and strategic with how and where you're looking and who might be open to your unique visa situation. So one resource I send students to a lot is called myvisajobs.com. I think it's a really helpful website in general if you're trying to understand the various work visa options. It has a lot of resources and explanations around that. So if you're still kind of confused by the whole system, or just kind of want a general overview of the different ways of working in the United States, this is a helpful website. But one thing in particular I direct students to is, let's see if I can find it. There is now it's gone away, of course. Okay. So you can look up the H-1B report by city, career, industry. I was trying this earlier, and it's for some reason the H-1B report for 2021 is being kind of buggy, but you can search by city. Seattle is one of the top 3 cities that have petitioned for H-1B sponsorship. So the employers that are here have petitioned for a lot of H-1B visas. When this works correctly, you can click on here. It hasn't been working for me yesterday. So, oh, here we go. Up here, you can go to this visa report. This is what I was looking for. And you can scroll down and find the H-1B visa report for the last couple years. So the 2021 has been giving me problems. So I just went to the 2020 H-1B visa report. You can do it by city. Last year, Seattle was 5th. So we've actually petitioned for a lot more H-1B visas for this year so far. Click on Seattle, and it will show you the companies in Seattle, the top companies who and how many petitions they've submitted for H-1B visa, okay? The reason I show this, and then you can even get into the companies and see what types of positions were they petitioning for. Is it mostly software engineers and computer science, or are there some roles that are more related to what your background is? But the reason I show this is it gives you a sense, again, of which companies are more open to visas, work visas, or international status that's not US citizenship. So, they might be more open to hiring you on OPT that eventually could roll into an H-1B sponsorship, or hiring you on OPT, especially if you have the STEM extension where you could work for them for a couple of years. This is a long list. It goes all the way up to 100 companies. So this might help you in focusing your search of, who's more open to your unique visa situation, if that makes sense. So I encourage you to take a look at this website. It's helpful just to educate yourself, and then also to kind of focus your search, I guess, for positions. And then let me go back to my PowerPoint. So there's myvisajobs.com. The third kind of out of the box strategy I recommend to students, and I know my team does as well, for regular OPT, it gives you 12 months to work full-time after graduation, or part-time, or it basically just gives you the ability to work and get paid while still being on F1 visa after you've completed your degree. So 12 months, that's just a year, right? And if you don't have the STEM extension, which is another 3 years, and that's for programs that have been STEM approved, it's just 12 months. And so sometimes applying for regular full-time positions can be challenging because the employer wants you there longer than 12 months. They're going to put a lot of time and effort into training you, bringing you on board. They'd ideally want you there longer. And so because you have a time limit, it might be helpful to focus your search around contract or temporary positions. When you're on job sites, I know for a lot of them, you can filter for contract positions or temp positions. So you can do that. A contract role is usually you're hired through a staffing agency, and the staffing agency generally is the one who's paying you. But somebody like, let's say Microsoft has hired that staffing agency to fill the contract role. And a contract might be 9 months, 12 months, it just depends. The company needs you for a special project or initiative, or just to fill in for somebody that's kind of more temp roles. But it can work it can be a nice option for OPT, because there's not this expectation of you being there longer than the contract. It might work out that way if there's a sponsorship possibility, but everybody's kind of more on the same wavelength, and it's kind of a win-win then for everybody. Kenny did this route, so he's going to talk a little bit more about how this worked for him. But as part of your search, you may want to connect with some staffing agencies or go to their websites to explore contract or temp opportunities for your OPT. And I've listed some here. We don't endorse any of these. We don't have special partnerships with any of them. These are just some that I know are really popular in the Seattle area. And so you could go to their website. There's usually a section for candidates, and you would go in there and see, how does the process work for a candidate. Just to point out, Campus Point is nice for more entry level, for people who are coming right out of undergrad. So if that's you may want to take a look at that one. Some of these are really big, like Kelly Services is really big, Accountemps is really big. That might be a good thing. They might have a lot of different opportunities. So just another strategy for you to change things up a little bit or do something unique. Any questions about any of these? Okay, well, I want to make sure we have enough time for our alumni stories. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them, and then whoever wants to go first, Stanley or Kenny, I'll let you both decide. So Danley Chen is with us. She's a 2018 graduate from the Masters of Science in Business Analytics and our Masters of Professional Accounting degree. She had a double degree. And she said to me, I've done pretty much every work authorization available. So she's got a great story for you. She actually has been sponsored, which is really exciting. And she's a data scientist at Zillow Group. And then Kenny Chandra just graduated last year in 2019 from undergrad accounting. He worked here he'll tell you more about this, worked here for 12 months on OPT, and then just recently moved back home. And he's doing sales development for a company called Glints back home. So we're grateful he's here because it's 3 a.m. where he is. So thanks, Kenny. So Danley, Kenny, whoever wants to go ahead, I'll turn it over to you both. If you want to go ahead and tell your experience, I'll stop sharing here.
Kenny, do you want to go first since we just talked about the staffing company?
Yeah, that'd be great. Kenny, do you want to go ahead?
Okay, sure. So what should I talk about, Megan?
If you could go back and give yourself advice, what do you feel like was the most helpful for you? What strategies worked for you? What do you feel like the people in this workshop need to know?
Got it. So hi everyone. First of all, thanks for having me. My name is Kenny, and I guess if there's a couple of advice that I want to give myself back then is, first of all, let's circle back to what I did during my job searching. And I hate to break it to you, but it's not really that special. So you might want to keep your expectation intact. So what I did back then was, I was in 1 year OPT, right? So my option is not really that much. Unfortunately, what Megan said was true. When you're applying for a full-time job and you're under a 1 year OPT, usually that's a deal breaker for so many different employers. So I went ahead and did what Megan told me. I mean, what Megan told us, I applied to as many different staffing agencies as possible. I interviewed with their recruiters. I think I count at least like 15 different like staffing agencies. And then like from there, like I was just like waiting for a phone call. So and then luckily the one that works out for me, like I got a call from Robert Half regarding an accounting position 2 weeks in, like after I did all of this and then like did the interview and then like nailed the interview. And then like the next thing I know, like I work for this place called Subsplash. Like they're not really a huge company, like they're a growing startup, but they have a pretty good reputation, like their culture like, is amazing. And the next thing I know, like I stayed there for like 11 months. But here's the thing, like one thing that Dale mentioned earlier that's gonna like click with me is that we're during COVID season, guys. So like if there's like one thing that I want you guys to learn is like don't do what I did, because like that I have to like be honest, that's gonna like involve luck as well. And in this case of scenario, like you don't want to like relying on luck. So let's see, like some of the things that I wish I knew earlier is like, number one, when you're applying to those recruiting agency, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, is that when you're talking to them, you're not talking to a recruiter, right? Like you're talking to a salesperson. So like just don't rely, just don't rely, put your eggs in one basket and think that they're working for you. Like they're not working for you. And unfortunately, like based on what I see, since like they're a salesperson, like they have a quota to chase, and you're probably wondering like, hey, I did really well like during the interview and they seem to like me. Like, why did they ghosted me? Because guys, like that's part of their responsibility. It's called like having a sales qualified meeting, and they will get in trouble if they don't do that. So like don't rely on them, like rely on yourself, right? And then let's see, if anything doesn't work out and you still don't want to go back from Seattle, like there's this awesome website called volunteermatch.com. So I know that if it's not mistaken, if you cannot get a job within 3 months and then you still want to stay, you can volunteer in there. You can pretty much like get something within a week. So your status here will still be safe. And then let's see, again,
Can I
for
jump in
1
on
year.
that, Kenny? Can I jump in on
sorry.
that? Dale, is that the case, but if you volunteer, it still has to be related to your degree? Is that right?
Yes, and it must be at least 20 hours a week and reportable to someone other than yourself.
Got it. Sorry, Kenny, go ahead.
Okay, got it. So, and then like the next thing, if you're in the 3 years OPT, I mean, like Danley is like definitely going to talk about this, like she's the expert. But from what I see, if you are in 3 years OPT, you want to like treat yourself like a local citizens, in my humble opinion, that you pretty much like have the same chances. You can apply for full-time jobs, and like 3 years is like a very long time, and like most employers like don't really have a problem. Oh, you're not a local citizen, but you can work here for 3 years. Yeah, that's fine. But if you're in 1 year OPT, like I would highly suggest, like as Megan said, like focus on temp position, or like talk to recruiting agency, or like if you're on LinkedIn or like Handshake, you want to like filter it to like contract position. So like I would highly recommend don't focus on full-time jobs, not because you guys are not good enough, but because like that's just like the way it is, like based on what I see. So and then unfortunately, like one thing that I would highly recommend if you're in 3 years OPT, use the recruiting agency as the last resort, because like I talked to like so many different staffing agencies, and one of my mentors is actually assistant VP at Robert Half, and we have this discussion that unfortunately, like due to like so many different job seekers right now, like if you're a fresh graduate and you don't really have direct experience, you're going to be put into a box. Let's say, for example, you're in accounting, like this happened to me, like I had an accounting degree, but I didn't have a direct accounting experience. Like they will treat you like I think it's kind of like fair, considering like how many applicants are there. Like they're going to like treat you like you have zero experience, so like you're going to end up with kind of like lower pay job. So like if you're in a full-time position, and I know that you guys are all capable, like I feel like we can do better. So like I guess that's that. And then if Megan, like do I still have like some time, like there's some other things? Okay, got it.
You and Danley have the floor now, Kenny, so you're good.
Okay, like this won't take long. So if you're in the like 3 years OPT and like basically like can job search like normal, I noticed like there are some things that you can specifically do in order to make yourself be more attractive to recruiters. And I actually like make a pointer here. Like number one, like be very specific about like what you want, guys, because if you're very specific, and usually what I saw, recruiters really like that. So like instead of saying, hey, I want to work in sales, you need to know exactly what you want. Hey, I want to be an account manager in B2B SaaS specializing in fintech industry. Like, I guess like boom, like people, wow, this guy really knows what he wants. Like a lot of people are expect that. So like I guess my homework to you guys, like find your why, like find your passion. Like that's number one. And then number two is that once you find out your passion, like follow all the industry trend, reads like crazy, and like follow all of the people that's like influential on LinkedIn and like see what they do, because like this is really matters. This is actually what makes me become like knowledgeable about like job searching and topic, because like I follow like so many different people who's an expert in the industry. So I highly recommend to do that. The third thing is to build a list of companies from ranking from like number 1 to 10. And then after that, like this is the part that most people I feel like kind of like failing the most, is try to reach out to like as many people as possible from the companies. I would highly recommend do not reach out to the recruiters, simply because like they already have like too much traction. Like if you want to work like as a software engineer in like Microsoft, for example, like I will highly recommend to reach out to the majority of like engineering department and basically like just ask them for coffee chat, like how are their experience, like how are you doing, like hey, working at Microsoft is my dream, like it will be an honor to hear your story. Like if you send something like that to people on LinkedIn, usually people will accept that, because like they love to share their experience and most people love to pay it forward. And I guess like the point of doing this is not asking for referral, but like you want to like build a familiarity with the people inside the company, so that the next time they have a job that you're looking for, the first thing that comes to their mind, like, hey, we have the software engineer position, like, do you have any recommendation? I don't really have any recommendation, but I talked to this guy named Kenny, and I really like our networking session. And then like the other guy will say, hey, you talked to Kenny as well? Hey, that's great. I talked to him as well. He seems like super, super passionate. Maybe like we should just give it a try. So like, I guess like that's kind of like the goal. And I know like if you're genuine during your networking, usually people can see that and they appreciate it. And then the next one is like once you're done with like the coffee chat and everything, you want to like follow up like once in a while. And this is why I would recommend, let's say that you're graduating on April, like I would highly recommend that you do this on like October or something. Like this is a very, very long game scenario. And if you're networking with the purpose of, I need to do it fast, like usually people can feel it and it becomes disgenuine. And most of the time, like you will get nothing out of it. So like do it earlier, guys. Like I'll highly recommend. So with the follow-up, you just basically want to like send them a related article that can be useful for them, or maybe just say, hey, happy birthday, or hey, I followed through on your advice, that's so awesome, like thank you so much. So let's say something like that, basically make sure other people feel heard. And then last but not least, the most very important thing, like you should apply your mindset from applying to as many jobs as possible to securing as many informational interview as possible. So yeah, I guess I'll stop in there again.
Good, thanks, Kenny.
Yeah.
Danley, if you want to go kind of give your overview, and then we can kind of open it up to questions for everybody.
Yeah, sounds good. I think one of the things I want to follow up from what Kenny said, that he brought up a really awesome like a point that to build your network, it's really important. I never know until I really join the job, become a full-time employee, and then I know that how important is the networking is. And to be honest, even though you feel like Seattle is such a big city, but it's actually really small. People knows people, and that's a lot of time how people gets jobs. There's a data point that in Zillow, the top way that for us to get like new hire is from referrals. However, this is also a really important thing to keep in mind. A lot of time, like with the past 2.5 years, a lot of students reach out to me. I basically respond every single one of them. I'm always willing to help. But one thing I find out, a lot of students, when they reach out to me, they treat this relationship more like a one-time transaction. It's more like I'm shopping in the grocery store. Do you have this job? No? Okay, bye. And that's it. But rather you should treat your network more like a long-term relationship. Maybe now I don't have any job in my team or in other team, but I can give you suggestion how we get where we are right now. And we can recommend you to different people, or we can suggest you to learn different things to get you where you needed to be. And you should follow those advice and then trying to build towards that. And in that case, later when there's opportunity coming up, then we will remember you and trying to refer you and help you the best, rather than just ghosting us because we cannot get what you need right now. So I think that's a really important thing. It's just not, hi, okay, no, nothing, bye. That's just not the way it works. And if you're too shy to even just ask someone in LinkedIn, our placement center has a really good like mentor program where my husband right now is a mentor here, and he helped a lot of mentee, even just got a job like in Zillow actually. So I think that's a really good like a start point that you get yourself out there to know what exactly a networking look like. I think that's a really good starting point. And for me, back 2.5 years back when I start applying jobs, I think really important to keep in mind, you need to be proactive, be prepared, be confident, and never give up, because it's a really desperate situation. It's really hard, and everybody went through the same thing. I definitely can feel you. And especially in my circumstance, I think Megan already mentioned that I use like all my work authorization, which including pre-OPT. That means by the time when I graduate, my first OPT, the regular OPT is not 12 months, it's 7 months because the pre-OPT nuance. So in that case, I was definitely desperate. And luckily I knew one thing is, in order to get the OPT extension, I need to find a company that's E-Verified. And a lot of time I find out that when I talk to Dell, some students did not know that. They didn't know that they need to E-Verify until they need to do the OPT extension. That sometimes may be too late because their company may not be E-Verified, and it take a longer time to find a job and go through this hardship again. So that's why we need to be prepared. You need to know what really you need to achieve before you need to find a job. So for me that time, there's a lot of online resource, one of them called everify.org. It shows every companies that which is E-Verified. So that time I have two screens. One screen is just LinkedIn that shows all the job posting. Another one is just that E-Verify page. And so I can see which company is E-Verified, which one is not. So I only apply the one that has E-Verified, and also use Megan's website that she just recommended, who sponsored H1B, who sponsored Green Card. And with the H1B status, you will also know kind of the salary is for each role. So you will have an idea, it's like how much I may get out of this role, so which is also really nice. And last thing I also want to mention is that sometimes when we graduate from school, we may have specific role or area we want to work in. For me, I always want to be a data scientist. It sounds really awesome, fancy, and not to mention it pays more. But when I graduate, I know that I was not really qualified for data scientist, or it's harder to compare with people that has that's like citizen that have a lot of experience that coming from like an even better school. So in that case, I apply everything. I apply all kinds of analysts, regardless marketing, financial, or even like doing HR. Like you can apply as much as you can, because that time, what our goal is not really to find what you like. It's like we need to fulfill our need to stay here first. And after that, when you be into a company, it's really easy to switch role internally, because you know the team, you know the culture, you know what exactly the tool is. So as I mentioned, like when I first joined Zillow, I actually was an analyst for a few months, and I switched back to what I really want as a data scientist. So don't just narrow yourself to just one position, one area, or one dream company, apply everything. And after that, when you have your job, when you have your work authorization, you have more power in your end that you can choose whatever you like. So I think this is what I want you guys to take away. Build a relationship, treat it as a long-term ones, and also be prepared, be proactive, and be positive, never give up. Yeah.
Good messaging. Thank you both. Yeah, I say that a lot too, being open to a lot of different possibilities. The only kicker is that you just have to remember that OPT, what you're doing has to relate to your degree. So that's the only, it's not like you can consider every single industry or possibility, but different companies, organizations, startup versus large organizations, just kind of being open to all of those. Kenny, we have a question that somebody chatted to me. Did you have previous job experience prior to your OPT job search? And I was going to ask you if you could expand on that a little bit. You're very humble, but you got hired for one of these contract roles. So what do you feel like, what was it that you did in undergrad that helped you secure that?
Yeah,
talk about the job experience you did have in undergrad.
Gotcha. So like I did have a job experience back then, guys. But again, like as I mentioned before, like it's not really related. So like I was working in the library for like 2 years, and also like I spent 6 months working for the NSR, New Student Registration. So like it's not really related in terms of like technical skills, but like I learned a lot from that jobs, and like learn to be more resilient. And then I guess like if like Megan asked me like what are like some of the things that I did specifically, is that she already noticed, like I went back and forth to Megan like so many times, like to ask for her advice, like, hey, Megan, like what do you think about my resume? Like is my interview skills on point? And like I did that so often, to the point that I already know all the basics. And then like when I meet people, I know that which part I can kind of like tweak off, like, hey, you know what, I want to make this part more fun, like I want to like ask this question in a different way. And it usually makes me like stand out for like when I recruit, like when I interview with the recruiting agency. Because like the thing with recruiting agency, I'm sure like some of you already know this, like if you're looking for a temp position, usually you only need to do one interview with the hiring managers. So like like there's no like 3 or 4 layers, and usually like either you get it or you don't. So like you want to like nail it in the first try, and that's what I would recommend you guys to do. Keep practicing on those interviews.
So would you say trying to get any kind of work experience is still helpful, even if it's not super relevant to your degree?
Yes, and kind of like yes and no, Megan. Yes, because like like you can still you can still put something on your resume, and like the extra money, I know that it's going to be like very helpful. But if I can do it differently, I would go to website like Volunteer Match to find something that's directly related to what I'm doing. Like I had an accounting degree, for example, right? Like if I can do it differently, I'll go there and find a nonprofit, like a small nonprofit, whatever, to be their main bookkeeper, so that when I go to the Robert Half, hey, I did this, like I know what I'm doing, and I already had a direct experience, so that everything will be like much smoother from there.
Right. So obviously trying to get an unpaid internship or something off campus.
Yes.
That's relevant, but
yes,
I'd also say any work experience is, trying to do something is helpful, I would say.
Yeah.
Good. Danley, I don't know, Danley, did you ever use staffing firms, or you went ahead straight to the company, right?
Yeah, I never used staffing.
Okay. So Kenny, I don't know if you know the answer to this question. Somebody's asking me, do the staffing agencies look for full-time roles as well?
Yes. So from Robert Half, again, like I'm grateful that my mentor also like worked there. They have a different department, so like the process is going to be like different. And that's a very good reminder, Megan. Like if you're in a 3 years OPT, that doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to like apply here. I also know like so many people, including one of my friends, get converted into the full-time position in there, so that they can like cut their ties from Robert Half, like, so that's a possibilities, but yeah, they do have a different department with a different process.
Oh, sometimes where the contract leads to longer term employment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Stanley, what do you feel like was really helpful for you while you were in school?
I think definitely reach out to all the resources we have here. I remember when I first switching my career path from accounting to business analytics, I got so lost, especially my resume is full of accounting stuff. There's nothing related to business analytics, and there's no way I feel like I can get any internship or job out of it. So at that time, I scheduled a meeting with Justin for resume review. He recommended me to like put some like school like projects on it and how to kind of twist my accounting experience using some words more like even though I'm working as an accountant, I still use analytic skills and how that analytic skill help my at that time my accountant job to achieve better and to make some impacts. So I think that could be like really helpful in terms of like finding a job. And also I constantly chatting with Dell and annoying him to ask all different kinds of questions because people may like, even though we all have the same like visa and status, since we are from different country, we have different things, different program, maybe slightly different in individually. So if you ever hesitate or feels like the things that you find, the resource you know that is really confusing, just reach out to people to ask. And like everybody in Seattle, you back then is like really helpful. So that's how I know what I need to prepare before I finding a job. I think that's one of the things that really leads to me to my current role.
Thank you both. Any other questions for either myself, my team, for our alumni? I think Dale had to jump off, but Kenny and Danley, are you open to people connecting with you on LinkedIn in case they have more questions? Or, I mean, you are alumni and I recommended connecting to alumni. So. Are you open to that?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Any other questions? Well, I just want to show you our final, and if you have anything, throw it in the chat. Just our office's information. Let me share my screen here real quick. Just so you have our contact info in case you haven't visited us before. My team, we're all available for one-on-one appointments. We're just doing them virtual right now. So we're happy to help you with whatever you have going on. My colleagues, Justin and Mary Lou, on this call, Justin is our grad career advisor. So if you are a grad student, I know he'd be happy to help you. I see undergrad students, so and so does Abby. She had to jump off, but we're both available to undergrads, and Mary Lou is available to everybody. So we're happy to help you with your unique individual situation. I showed you our website. You can also email us. If you go to our website, there's a button so that you can book appointments online, and we'll be happy to help you kind of navigate this process. I also want to mention that, let me get back, and I think we have another chat question. I also want to mention that we have a career fair coming up next Thursday, February 11th. It's from 10:30 to 1:30, hosted through Handshake. So definitely, you know, if you're kind of hunting for, you know, opportunities on OPT, I would highly recommend you attend that. Even if there's some companies you're interested in, but you see that, you know, maybe what they have available to you, you're not eligible for, you know, I would still recommend if you can go to their information session, or if you're wanting to kind of practice connecting with professionals and recruiters, to attend the career fair to practice as well as finding out about opportunities. It can be a really good way to practice presenting yourself and kind of doing more of those conversations with recruiters. And then for, we talked a lot about connecting with alumni or building your network. On February 23rd, we are hosting an event called Albers Career Night for undergrad students and Bridge MBA students. It will be a virtual kind of networking event through a platform called Hopin from 4:30 to 6 that day. All of these are listed on our website. So if you want to take the advice of our alums and connect with more alums and have some conversations, a couple of them coming are international students or were former international students as well. I recommend that you attend that, and more emails and things will be coming out about that next week. So any final questions for our alums or any of us? Alums, any final recommendations, last words?
I guess, like Bentley, sorry, like I'll start first, I guess. Just don't give up, guys. Like I know like this can be like super, super challenging, but if you endure and you keep doing like all the networking and like all the studying stuff, like you attend like so many different career fairs, like all virtual networking, like in the long run, like I can promise you, like usually like 9 out of 10, like it will usually work out. So like keep going. Yeah.
I think Kenny basically covered everything.
Good. Thank you both so much for being here, especially Kenny for getting up early in the morning. We really appreciate it.
No worries,
and thank you all
guys.
for attending. Just know our office is here to support you. We hope this was helpful, and good luck in your process. And just know you're not doing it alone. We're here to help. So thanks so much for attending.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Good luck.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.